اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن تودعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني باسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتد الفاقة وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته وكم من عثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم أعظم بلائي وأفرط بي سوء حالي وكسرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أهترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدوده وخالفت بعد أوامرك فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاءك وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا، مستغفرا منيبا مكرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري الخالية في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شدي وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي. يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتربيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات، أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت أو تبعد من أدنيت أو تشرد من آويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادحا وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارح سأت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنا. ما هكذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم. يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكتوم يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن نعله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك مشكور ولما منها أتجر وأبكي لعليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته. فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك، وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك. أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآمنين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أدباكها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج معمل برحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يهرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أدباكها وأنت تعلم صدقه؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ لا ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك، فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاهديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرب ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأن تجل ثناؤك. قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما، أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته وأعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته، وأن توفر حدي من كل خير أنزلته أو إحسان فضلته أو بر نشرته أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بدأ خلقي يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه مأولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قو على خدمتك جوارحي واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرع إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في الباردين وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء سوء فأرد ومن كادني فكد واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نسيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وأخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك واعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأكلني أثرتي واغفر ذلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تبتع من فضلك رجائي فاكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاهه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بي ما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. أفضل الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله محمد وآل محمد. صلوات صل على محمد. क्या बताऊं मकाम ज़ैनब का, क्या बताऊं मकाम ज़ैनब का, क्या बताऊं मकाम ज़ैनब का। इसमें आज़म है नाम ज़ैनब का, इसमें आज़म है नाम ज़ैनब का। मैं तो क्या खुद कसीदा पढ़ते हैं, मैं तो क्या खुद कसीदा पढ़ते हैं। मेरे बारा इमाम ज़ैनब का, हाँ क्या बताऊं। तेरे दर पर भी आएगा जिब्रील, तेरे दर पर भी आएगा जिब्रील, तू भी हो जा गुलाम ज़ैनब का। हाँ क्या बताऊं, अल्लाह अल्लाह हुर तेरी किस्मत, अल्लाह अल्लाह हुर तेरी किस्मत, तुझको आया सलाम ज़ैनब का। हाँ क्या बताऊं, मकाम ज़ैनब का क्या बताऊं। सारे नबियों से कह रहा था खुदा, सारे नबियों से कह रहा था खुदा, देखा तुम सब ने काम ज़ैनब का। क्या बताऊं, मकाम ज़ैनब का क्या बताऊं। सल्लु अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद। My dear elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of Wessex Jamaat, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you all, those who are here and those who are watching online from afar, Khushali Mubarak. Alhamdulillah, we are blessed and honoured to have with us for the Wiladat program this evening, Shaykh Mirza Abbas, Shaykh who is very well known to us here at Wessex Jamaat. He after completing his Hawza studies to the level of Dars al-Kharij, came to the UK as a resident scholar for the Jamaat in Birmingham, where he served for 4 years, and then served for another 4 years at the Al-Zahra Foundation of Nottingham. Since he has been appointed the internal manager for the Hawza of England, he is also the program leader for the BA Hawza Studies program at the Islamic College of London. He teaches extensively at the college and at Hawza. Furthermore, he is an active figure in missionary activities to introduce the school of Ahlul Bayt globally for more than 2 decades. He has translated many texts, and the most important of all is Theological Instructions of Aydullah Misbah Yazdi, which is used as a textbook for theology in the Hawza of Qum. He was awarded an MA in theology from the University of Birmingham and is currently working on his doctoral studies in mysticism. It is our honour and pleasure to have him once again in Wessex Jamaat for us this evening. Can I ask all the mu'mineen to welcome him with the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم قرأ الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبله وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده. الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوحام الواصفين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائم على أعدائهم وغاسل حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah wa sallallahu alaikum. Greetings and felicitations to the Imam of our time from our side, and also to all of you, my dear brothers and sisters who are present here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as beautifully recited by Muhammad Abbas, that we become a true slave of Zainab Kubra, inshallah. The era that we live in is, or the time that we live in, it's very clear that the time is constricting, meaning that it just look like the time has gone fast so quickly. It's just, time is so short. Everything is so short. Even the young people, the older people, even senior members, they say, oh, 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't like this, man. Now everything is moving fast. This is one of the alarm signs of the zuhur, that before zuhur. And the other thing is the land as well is becoming very tight. It's very short. People traveling from one place to other so quickly. Apart from traveling from one place to the other quickly, the land also becomes as if there is no place to go. Not because of the population as such, because of all this fitna and corruption and things like that. For example, how people tend to forward things, and they talk about this person did that, that person did that. If I'm that person, I feel like, I have no place to go. Everybody knows me. I cannot hide myself. After if I've done something wrong or something. So even the land becoming very small and short. There's no place to go. Meaning that, okay, traveling quickly, population as well, and at the same time, from a mental point of view as well. So therefore, as we live in a time where the land is becoming constricted, the time is also becoming constricted. An intellectual person prepare himself for the return of the 12th Imam, and one of the things that is required for the 12th Imam is that he has excelled in terms of his intellectual capacity, in terms of his understanding, so that when Imam Zamana comes and speak and say something, he has some sort of clarity to understand what Imam Zamana is saying. Like, for example, if I'm in grade 5, class 5, Imam Zamana is talking about, university level, I'm not understanding what, I will be very far from him, what benefit I would have. It requires that I should improve my intellectual capacity, my knowledge, my understanding of things, so that he calls me as a helper, right? I become his companion, and he designates me here, he gives me what to do and what not to do. So the gist of the story, in the nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that we have to improve our intellectual capacity, our knowledge, and our understanding in order for being a true supporter of the 12th Imam. Now, by keeping this in mind, through certain aqli and naqli, which means through certain intellectual and also traditional methodologies or understanding, we know that we could stop time and also expand the space. How is that? When we spend time in a masjid, the time stops. And the masjid becomes so expanded that it reaches near Allah. So participation in these are the benefits of Ahl Bayt al-Muslim, their Wiladat, their Shahadat. Right. This is the place we're going to go to, our final place. This is the final stop of ours, to this Usul Khana or wherever, somewhere here, right? This is the place they're going to bring us, wash us, and take. So if we do not make an effort to come to this place, to be familiar with this place, love to come to this place, right? Then how our journey will be easy. They say that when a person is having difficulty in the soul leaving the body at the time of sakarat, they say take him to the place where he used to pray at home. That place his ruh will go nicely. Because that was the place he used to connect to Allah. Through that place he connected Allah. So now is the time that he's connecting to Allah because he's leaving the dunya. So take him to the place where he used to pray. So that way he will connect to Allah very good. So if I am not praying, if I am lazy for prayers, if I don't have a specific place as is mustahab, it's a seerah, it's the way of the Ahlul Bayt in their house, they would have a special corner, a place, a room where they used to pray. They will keep that place clean, Islamic books, or how even in our, in India, in Pakistan tradition, we call it Ashur Khana, where the alam is there, clean place, we pray there. It's always been there. It's part and parcel of our culture and our values that we have that place. And the Prophet did, Ahlul Bayt did, Imam Ali alayhi salam, as you have visited the house of Imam Ali in Najaf, you may see, okay, this is the mihrab, this is the place they used to have the makan. So if I'm lazy for that makan, for going to that makan, then obviously it will be more difficult for me. So the same way, this is the makan, this is the place, this is the center, these are the days that with all our preoccupation that we have, we somehow force ourselves to come here. Alhamdulillah. And we, have the attendance. We present ourselves here. This is very important. And we bring our children here. Right? Why? Because in the limited period of time, because time is very short now, whether very short in the sense of that journey, very short in the sense of zuhur as such, for example. Right? So even in the sense of that journey, as the fourth Imam says that, so little I have and such a long journey. So little I have, meaning that the dosha, the things that I need to take from here is so little, but I have such a long journey that I have to travel. So the opportunities to Ahlul Bayt that are provided, Majlis, Milad, and the community facilitate a place, a Husayniyah, a masjid, a makan, where we all gather. And then while being here, we make that journey of ours very swiftly and quickly. Just like how Asra bi Abdihi lay. The Prophet was taken from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa very quickly. It was a long journey. But because of that makan, because of that zaman, Mi'raj is a zamani time, right? Zaman has a value like Laylatul Qadr. So the same way, when we come to this makan, which is the makan of Al-Mahdi, in this zaman, which is the birth of Hazrat Zainab, so that journey of ours, that understanding, that intellectual understanding expands. This is a very spiritual and mystical phenomena takes place. Our heart expands. We are inspired by things. And these things that we may not even know come to our aid and help when we face problems and difficulties. So it's an opportunity for us. And as a matter of fact, if we calculate ourselves, how much of time am I really spending to make my dunya? 8-hour shift, family, work, this. Although there is also, I'm not saying that, it's all ibadat. My work is also that ibadat that I'm doing. But however, in relationship to what I'm doing right now, that I come to the masjid, I'm sitting down in a Husayniyah, trying to listen to the speech, the Wiladat of Hazrat Zainab. We're going to talk about Hazrat Zainab. This is specific, and only this. Although I'm at work 8 hours, at that time as well, I have time for namaz, I go pray, and I doing service to humanity. It's all qurbatan ila Allah, no doubt. But this, our attendance here, is a different type of attendance compared to my attendance at work. Right? So, therefore, the amount of time that we spend to make our dunyavi, life is a lot, practically speaking, pragmatically speaking, compared to the eternal life. Still we, alhamdulillah. But look at the irony of this, look at the unique aspect of this, that even this little time that we spend, it provides us a launch of eternal good and what we achieve. It's unimaginable. Like for example, Imam Rada alayhi salam says that if a person, while just making wuzu, if he recites Surah Qadr, it's nothing. He's making wuzu, he recites Surah Qadr. After he finishes wuzu, it will be as if he's a newborn. I mean, it's just a little bit of time, but such an impact. Where do we get this from? Because of Ahlul Bayt. It's because of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. It's because of Ma'asumeen alayhi salam. Why? Because they have managed to travel that journey, that eternal journey, right? And download and understood that reality and provided that in a simple way for us to perform so that we can achieve that. Okay. Now, as we celebrate the birth of Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha, now we know that she was born when Prophet was still alive. The name of Hazrat Zainab was given by the Prophet himself, where he says that I consulted Jibreel and from Allah this name came. So it's quite fascinating that not only, yes, the Panjatan is special, but Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha, name from Allah, Prophet is still alive, is also points out to her great, station, the caliber of her. She's a very powerful and great lady. And in a similar way, when Imam Hussein was born, how Prophet cried when Hazrat Zainab salamullah was born, in the same fashion, Prophet cried and mentioned about the masa'ib that she would go through. And this is also very, fascinating thing and mysterious, that the same way for Hazrat Zainab, for Siddiqa Kubra Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha as well, the masa'ib that it talks about in her ziyarat, and the masa'ib that Allah tested you through these masa'ib even before your birth. Right? So Hazrat Zainab also have the same substance to her wujud, to her existence about masa'ib, the same as Hazrat Zainab, the same as Imam Hussein. Hazrat Zainab also have that, which we don't hear in regards to other, other Masumin as such, the way we hear in regards to Hazrat Fatima and Imam Hussein and Hazrat Zainab. So this shows her maqam, her position. Then also, if you look at, for example, the ziyarat, there are only three ladies whose ziyarat are from Masumin themselves. Hazrat Zainab is one of them. Right? That there's a ziyarat name, there's a ziyarat given, that this is how we should recite. And not only that, they say that even the ziyarat Jami Kabira, which is recited for imams, for Masumin, you can recite that ziyarat from Hazrat Zainab. Because that ziyarat Jami Kabira is all about marifat of the imam, meaning that it's all about who the imam is. If you read the translation, Assalamu alaikum, you are this, you are, haq comes from you, haq goes to you, you're the arkan of tawheed, you're addressing them. My salam to the one who's the arkan of tawheed, my salam to the one who's the treasure of knowledge, my salam to the one who's the, bed of wahi, so on and so forth, right? So that ziyarat can be recited to Hazrat Zainab. This shows her maqam and position. Now let's take a bit more further in regards to her alqab. When we look at one of the most, if you look at how also Hazrat Zainab also of Hazrat Fatima Zahra Salam Alaiha, we understood in regards to these two personalities after musibat happened on them. Before that, there is not much of a recording as such. Hazrat Zainab, Hazrat Fatima Zahra Salam Alaiha, the zulm and the door and the khutbah. So through that khutbah, through that sermon of Hazrat Zahra, we know, oh my God, right? The power, the strength, the marifat and understanding. Right? Through that, we figure out that who she is. So we have very little from their life to figure out what sort of personalities they had. For the Imams, we could say, oh, the Imams, Imam Ali alayhi salam, all the other Imams, they are in public, they are speaking, they are talking, they are everything. But for Hazrat Zahra, 18 years, first and foremost, and then after that, is there any narration or hadith? Very few, but the khutbahs clearly shows that what a great maqam she had, what intellectual capacity she had, she had that power of oratory and speech, and she stood in front of the tyrants, right? By being a woman, she did that. Right? So the jalal and jamal of her, is understood after the Masai. Same apply. Very few before, we can, through the father, had this title, that title, she's, the ghazab of Fatima is the ghazab of me, and the ghazab of me, the ghazab of Allah. These are from outside, not directly from herself. From herself is those khutbah, those speeches. Same applies for Hazrat Zainab as well. The ladies in Kufa, they came, please allow us that we become the student of your daughter Zainab to Imam Ali alayhi salam. They requested. So Hazrat Zainab teaches tafsir of Quran. Now, when it comes to Ahlul Bayt and the Quran, it's not like me, for example, I say, oh, I'm giving tafsir of Quran, and then some people come and ask me, can you give tafsir? I said, no, okay, my student can do tafsir. First of all, my understanding of Quran, I said, okay, it's Amirul Mu'mineen. There's no joke in Quran. He would not allow any, limitation in terms of fahm, in terms of understanding of the Quran, that they become teachers of the Quran. So Hazrat Amir allowing that, yes, Hazrat Zainab can teach the Quran. And there is no ta'aruf, there is no formality there. She can't. Hazrat Ali will not compromise. Oh, because they are asking me and she's my daughter, so I feel bad. This may show that she doesn't know anything. So, I will allow, for example, to go and teach. Like if somebody comes and asks me, oh, Maulana, can your daughter teach in Sunday school? I say, oh my God, now what will happen? They will think that, I have not trained my daughter to teach in Sunday school. I have not taught them Islam. That's why. But I will say, okay, fine, she will go and teach. And when she goes and teaches, makes a blunder because she doesn't know anything. It's not like that. It's Amirul Mu'mineen. And him allowing that she can be the teacher, mu'allim of Quran, is very fascinating. And the famous sentence of Imam Zainul Abidin. So this is from others in regards to her. Anti alimatu bila mu'allima, that you are a teacher, you are an alima, you are a knowledgeable one, without being taught, from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Very famous, that you are on that level. Now, why is she on that level, which we'll discuss a little bit later. To understand what Imam Sajjad is saying, I'm going to talk about that. But I'm just highlighting out here, as a title, as an unwan. Amirul Mu'mineen this way, in regards to her. Imam Sajjad this way, in regards to her. Imam Hussein, when it comes to Ibadat, on the day of Ashura, Zainab, don't forget me in your night prayers tonight. What type of Ibadat she may be doing? Usually the case is that when a person feels the other person to be of higher status, they go, please, Maulana Sahib, do dua. Please, Mama, my mommy, my daddy, mu'mineen to each other, please, you do dua for me. You have maqam in front of Allah, please. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam asking Hazrat Zainab, that Zainab, remember me in your night prayers. This shows that, and that's why one of the title of her is Abide Ali Muhammad. Another title of Hazrat Zainab is Abide Ali Muhammad. The what do you call Abide is the one who worships. of Ali Muhammad. Just like Imam Rida alayhi salam have the title Alime Ali Muhammad. He's known as the scholar of Ali Muhammad. For Hazrat Zainab is the title. Zainul Abidin is Zainul Abidin, right? Sajjad. For Hazrat Zainab is Abide Ali Muhammad. That her worship, her night prayers, her ibadat was fascinating. Now, sometimes you have people who are spiritual in the ibadat sense. Like, for example, we may have, and may Allah bless all our grandmas who passed away and bring them close to Hazrat Zainab, salamullah alayha, inshallah, parental and maternal grandmas, if they are not in this dunya. They are very pious, always praying. Whenever you see them, they are in zikr, reading Quran. Well, when you go and, for example, you may not be able to have an intellectual conversation with them. Maybe somewhere they may have, but majority of them they may not have. But still, when it comes to their manaviyat and ibadat, very amazing, very great. Even when it comes to maybe their dreams and they see things that they talk about, wow, amazing. But when it comes to that intellectual discussion, you want to talk about Tawheed Sifat, Tawheed Zat, Af'al Ilahi, Tafsir Quran, maybe you may not be able to engage with that. But for Hazrat Zainab, she is known as what? Aqile Bani Hashim. Aqile Bani Hashim. That is the intellectual one, just like Qamar Bani Hashim. Just like how Abu al-Faz is known as the moon of the Bani Hashim, right? Of the whole clan. And Bani Hashim themselves were a very powerful, family. To their shuja'at, to their beauty, to their, they were very famous. Everybody, know who Bani Hashim were. And the task that they had, the caretakers of Makkah, they're welcoming, there was a Bani Hashim family who used to welcome the guest because they had that etiquette of welcoming the guest. For example, the other tribes, they used to do other stuff, right? But Bani Hashim were responsible for taking care of the guest, right? So, among the Bani Hashim, she is known as the Aqile Bani Hashim. Now, one may say that, well, Aqile, it could be because she is a woman and she's a woman, and amongst the Bani Hashim, there were very few women who had knowledge. That's why she's the most knowledgeable one. As they say, Andome Kara Raja or something, some Urdu saying that if there are people who are blind, if there be a person who just blind with one eye, he will be a king. Because others are blind, but at least he has one eye, so he's the most powerful. But that is also a limitation, right? That he does not have a proper eyesight. There's a misal in Urdu, they say, right? However, so maybe is it like that? That because, that's why she's known as Aqile. Aqile, with the N, it comes with a ta, which indicates the femininity, the feminine gender. But actually, this ta is not ta of femininity. Like Fatime, when you write, you have a ta there. So one may say that all of these, whatever ends up with that ta, tanis, they call it in Arabic, they are known as feminine, indication of femininity, because they have a ta'anis in the end. So aqile in the end also have that round ta. So some may think that, this is because she's a woman and this ta is ta'anis. However, it is not. It's not the ta'anis. Right? But this is an indication of fazilat of her. And it is not because that it is a woman, that's why it's Aqile. No. She is known as Aqile Bani Hashim, meaning that including men and women, she is the Aqile. Just like how Qamar Bani Hashim. So she was known as the most knowledgeable one, the intellectual one of Bani Hashim. Now, Ibadat, the qualities and the praises from others, and also, and particularly at that time, and intellect and aql, because how women were treated at the time of the Prophet, particularly when it comes to knowledge and sciences, education, amongst the Arabs themselves, education was very low. Very few people, were educated at the time of the right. They may have eloquency and that sort of thing, but in terms of education, in terms of intellectual capacity, the intellectual capacity was so low. That's why they had 365 idols. Right? So among them, the Arabs, and then among the Arabs, women, how they were deprived. But after all of that, she becomes the Aqil ibn Yashim. Now, the importance of aql, intellect, is overwhelming in Islam, and particularly when it comes to Tashayyu, Shiaism. And that is the vehicle, that is the medium by which one could reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one could come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through intellect, through aql. And that's why she's Aqil ibn Yashim. Now, a little bit of discussion, because I wanted to explain this sifat aqil, aql, and intellectual intellect of Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha. And at the same time, if we have a chance to highlight few things in the margin in regards to how some people intellectually, academically want to criticize some of the naqliyat, some of the Quran and the naql and hadith and sunnah. Where do they stand? Okay. Aql, there are different types or levels or forms of intellect. There's aql falsafi, philosophical intellect. Burhan, philosophical intellect, through proofs. I will explain what do I mean by that. Then there's a rational intellect. There is experimental intellect, tajrubiyat. And there is mystical, irfani intellect. These are the different 4 levels of aql. What is the difference between experimental intellect and philosophical intellect? The water boils at 100 degrees. Yes, it boils at 100 degrees for the past, since we had that measuring temperature, bar, since that time water boils at 100 degrees, no matter we are in Portsmouth or we are in Sri Lanka, it boils at 100 degrees. But is there a possibility that the water may not boil at 100 degrees, for example, change in the atmosphere, or maybe you go to some very cold place, or maybe you go to some other planet, for example. The water may boil at a different, not at 100 degrees, but at 50 degrees or 90 degrees or 120 degrees. Is it possible or not? It's not impossible. It is possible. It is not part of impossibility. What is impossible is, like, for example, if I say this wall is white and at the same time black, that is impossible. It just can't be black, white at the same time black. That is impossibility. That is Adam. But experimental aql says that the water boils at 100 degrees. It's a bit of, based on this experimental, a lot of speculation also take place. The virus develops this way, we have this experience, all these sciences that we have is very speculative and experimental. And even this experimental and speculative science is so vast, right? So that is experimental aql. Then philosophical aql, for example, a person who is an expert in an experimental aql may not have any understanding of what is, for example, secondary philosophical concept, maqulat thaniya falsafi, or what is causation and how many causes went in making that door. His doctor is talking about how many causes went in making that door. Okay, there's a cause of a fire. The person, for example, what you call the carpenter, the filing, cause illat filing, they call it. The cause of a form. The door have to have a form. Then it is only called a door. That's the cause of a door is a form. The cause of a form. Cause of a material, madi. Cause of ghai, purpose. You need a door, then you'll make a door. Otherwise, the door will not come. Because you needed a door, you made a door. That's a cause too. Right? So all of these different causes have gone in, and one door came. That's it. That's basically we are trying to understand what is intellectual aql. Deals with all of these concepts and analyzes it. Well, it was an experimental person. He will not be able to grasp that, but it is there. That's a type of aql. That's a type of intellect. And it's a reality. It's not just, storytelling or fantasy. It's real. All of these things have gone, the door have come. If one of the things is not there, the door will not be there. All of the other things are there. The matter is there, carpenter is there, form is there, qudrat is there, power is there as well. But I don't want a door. The door will never come. So illat should be there. The purpose of a cause should be there for the door to come. Right? So all of these causes happen, this door have come. So that's the art. And the philosopher goes in and looks into these metaphysical realities that are there. Not physical like the experimental physical realities that are there. Rational aql, 2 plus 2 is 4, mathematical. Through mathematics, that sort of power of intellect of mathematics, like previously they used to measure the mountain through mathematics. They don't have any meters or anything like that, but through mathematics somehow they would tell what is the height of a mountain, for example. That's also a type of aql. Then you have that mystical aql. There's aql irfani. Now, all of these philosophical aql, experimental aql, rational aql, all of these is kasbi, meaning that we can acquire them. We can acquire them with a lot of exercises. We can understand them. But for the mystical aql, that requires purity of the nafs, of the soul. That requires practicing on the divine inspiration, the practicing of the aql in the practical sense. Then that door of mystical aql opens. What do I mean by that? I could prove the existence of God from a philosophical point of view. But when it comes to practice, I may commit sins. But in terms of proving, I have an intellectual, philosophical aql, I can prove it. I can prove qiyamah, I can prove azab. But my practice, I'm not practicing on that aql that I have. Then how will I imagine that divine and mystical aql will open up to me, that inspiration? This type of aql and intellect is for very peculiar and special people. And this is the entering into the levels and stations of nabuwat and higher than that. What do I mean by higher than that? Is the imamat. Because Ibrahim was Nabi, and then inni ja'iluka fi nasi imam. After he was Nabi, he was given the wilayat and imam. Musa was Nabi, but he went to Khizr because of Khizr having wilayat. So the nur of wilayat, the level of wilayat, that is the highest form. Right? And that is the aql that we are talking about. Bila mu'allima. Anti alimatu bila. You are a scholar without being taught. Philosophical aql, okay, teacher. Rational aql, 2 plus 2, 4. Experimental, all of these have, because we can acquire them. But the mystical aql is something that is inspirational. That is by presence. That is by huzur. And she managed to reach that maqam of wilayat. And this is from a very, intellectual perspective. You may say that, oh yeah, Maulana, mashallah, it makes sense. But even from a naqli perspective, naqli meaning narrative perspective, even from the narrative perspective, Imam Hussain alayhi salam gave the ilm of imamat, according to the narration that I have, and I can reference that, to Hazrat Zainab, in order to protect Imam Zainul Abidin, because it was needed his life be protected. And at the same time, with the outward things that we may say and appear, but it may not have that effect on the Manavi aspect of the Imam. It wasn't in that state, as he was ill, as he was. So, and usually he is the Imam. We're not saying that he's the Imam. But in order to protect, like for example, the sixth Imam announced in his wasiyah, the Imam after me is 4 different. One of them was Imam Qasim alayhi salam as well, but at the same time he announced It is, I believe, my wife, the governor of Medina, the Khalifa, and in order to protect. So, from the ilm of wilayat and the position, she was on that level of comprehension of that wilayat. That's why Imam Hussain transferred that ilm of imamat and anti alimatu bila muallim. So that's aqil wa niyashi. That's the intellect. That's the aql that we are talking about. That she was on that level of ma'rifat and understanding. Now, as I said, I will mention something in the margin. Now, the wahi is of that material, is of that substance. I haven't reached to the level of philosophical aql, how an experimental aql criticize philosophical aql, right? I'm an engineer. I'm not going to go and criticize a doctor in medicine about virus and what these guys are doing. I'm with physical things, mathematics. I work with these things. I don't have. It's absurd for me to go and criticize, medical field and virus. Why this vaccine? Why this? And you guys are to be an anti-vax, for example. It's absurd because I don't have that knowledge. The same way, doctors in terms of the philosophy, it's causation, and what are you talking about? You come and you guys are wasting time. It's there. You may not see it, but it's a reality I'm trying to present to you. So the same way, when these philosophers, intellectuals, Orientalists, doctors, professors, they come and criticize the Quran. You are not on that level to criticize it. Oh, Mahdi doesn't exist, na'uzubillah, for example, because it's not in the Quran. You have no understanding. What are you talking about? If you say that, I will give you Allah is awwal, isn't it? Allah is akhir. Is it possible mathematically something that is first to be last as well? It's not impossible. You are the first one who came to the mosque, this room. I said, no, you are the first one and you are the last one as well. That's not possible. After you, so many people came. You are not the last, you are the first. But Allah is first, Allah is last. So Quran is contradictory. I'm using my rational aql and contradicting the Quran. I have no right to do that because I don't understand what awwal wa akhir means, what zahir wa batin means. With few terminologies that I know, I come and criticize, this concept or that phenomena is not in the Quran, or is this what Quran is talking about, it should be taken out, it shouldn't be there, or some of the aspects of the Sharia. I don't have that intellectual strength to do that because there are different levels of this uqul that I should understand. I haven't even reached that level of wahi, which is beyond all forms and types of aql, as a matter of fact. That's a nur, that's a light. What I can do is try to use this aql that I have in order to understand that. What does first mean? What does last mean? What type of firstness is this? What type of lastness is this? Imam Ali was fighting, a person comes and he says this, Allah is one in Siffin, Allah is one. What does it mean? The other ashab says that, Mama, we are fighting, arrows are coming, you're talking a philosophical question here. Imam Ali said, that's what we are fighting for. And then Imam Ali explains what does this first mean. It's not the meaning of genus, fast. Like for example, in there's genus as is haywan, is animal, rationality, animal. It's not in rationality is one. For example, genus is one, the fast is the differentia is one. These are all one things. Allah is one and not in the sense of that. Allah is one is not in the sense of numbers like 1 and 2. One in the sense of unique. So that is through the aql and rational aql, experimental aql, philosophical aql, I should try to understand. Aql is actually the key to deen. Some say it's just the key, some say it's the key and also the torch to understand what is in the deen. Not that we enter to Sharia, to Islam, we try to understand certain things and then say, this doesn't make sense. You haven't really understood. You have come to Sharia and Quran through that key, and now once you are inside the Quran, meaning that understanding the Quran, you're criticizing the Quran. You need that light, you need that understanding. You need to you need to, how shall I say, come to the realization of that, explain that, interpretation of that. Hermeneutics is needed here, right? Ta'abir, ta'wil, tafsir, all of these things are needed. Not that you completely reject, because you don't have that understanding to do that. You don't have right to do that. So that aql, which we are doing, is aql baniyaj. Ma ra'aytu illa jamila, that I saw nothing but beauty in the plain of Karbala. One will say, this is absurd, this is beautiful. Was it beautiful, your brother being killed? Yes, because she's talking about something else. That needs understanding and that ma'rifat. Right? And the time for us is to gain this type of understanding and ma'rifat. And to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He opens our heart to have, it's not easy to understand this, but this is a true ilm. Al-ilmu nurun yaghzifu fil qalbi. This is that nur, ilm is light. And Allah places this light in the hearts of whosoever Allah wants. As beautifully recited, Muhammad Abbas, what is Zainab? Zainab is Ism Azam. Right? Is that Ism Azam? And that is true. Jawad Amili, he says, what is Ism Azam? Ism Azam is that you take that name, anything can happen. But he says Ism Azam is actually a maqam, is a position. When a person reaches to that maqam, he becomes Ism Azam. When he becomes Ism Azam, he can do whatever he wants. So Ism Azam is maqam. So Zainab is that Ism Azam. Zainab is that maqam Ism Azam. That she can do exactly what she wants to do. And she has control over everything. When she wanted to give the khutbah in Kufa, crowded people, everybody, noise so much. And Zainab said, silence. The Ravi reports that even the bell that hangs in the camel stopped. It was silence. That's Ism Azam. And that's Aqil Bani Hashim. So the time, as it is very limited, and the makan is becoming very short as well, for us, we have to make use of these opportunities. This one jumla of Muhammad Abbas Ism Azam, that is tawassul. That is connecting to her and to Allah, to open our heart, through her, by our participation. So that day by day, we increase our ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we come closer to Him. That we love Him. Right? In kuntum tuhibbuna Allah fattabi'uni yuhibbukum Allah. And when we follow the Ahl Bayt, when we love Allah, Allah will love us. And that's all we want. What more we want, inshallah. باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأجل الأكرم بعدد ما أحاط به علمك بمولاتي حضرة زينب سلام الله عليها يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك يا قاضي الحاجات يا كافي المهمات إنك على كل شيء قدير رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة لأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات, especially the marhumin of the brothers and sisters who are present here, who are listening to us online, and all of those who made this center, this place possible, and have left the legacy for us, for all of the marhumin and the marhumin, those who nobody have to recite Fatiha. Al-Fatiha with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Thank you very much.
Thank you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا مولاي يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب السلام عليك يا مولاتي يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا مولاي حسن المجتمع السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا السلام عليك يا مولاي علي بن الحسين زين العابدين السلام عليك يا مولاي محمد الباقر السلام عليك يا مولاي جعفر الصادق السلام عليك يا مولاي موسى الكاظم السلام عليك يا مولاي علي الرضا السلام عليك يا مولاي محمد الجواد السلام عليك يا مولاي علي الهادي السلام عليك يا مولاي حسن العسكري السلام عليك يا مولاي صاحب العصر والزمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن السلام عليك يا إمام أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله لك والله ورحمة الله وبركاته اللهم صل عليه وعلى آله في هذه الساعة وليا وحافظا قائدا وناصرا ودليلا حتى تسكنه قلبك طوعا وتمسحه فيها
Morning, can I please, I'd just like to express our deep gratitude to Shaykh Mirza once again blessing us with such a eye-opening majlis, so that I pray through the barakah of this majlis on this text that Allah grants us some of the ma'rifah of this great personality, inshallah. On behalf of all the mu'mineen, can I request you all to join us in expressing our gratitude to Shaykh Mirza in the traditional way through the recitation of 3 salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you for reminding us of the value of these programs, and we hope that you'll grace us again soon, inshallah. What we need, kindly request as you leave the centre to please ensure that you remain socially distanced. As you do so, please do also avoid congregating in the shoe area, and the barakah will be served outdoors. But just again a reminder to please wear your masks until you leave the centre, and to ensure that all mu'mineen are socially distanced until leaving the centre. Ahsan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.